We imagine a single dusty road, a lonely line of camels against a setting sun, carrying silks and spices from the mystical east to the waiting west. It's a romantic picture, a safe picture. But it is a complete and total lie. The truth is so much darker and so much more fascinating. The Silk Road wasn't a road. It wasn't even mostly about silk. It was a chaotic, sprawling, and often terrifying web of pathways, a highway of ambition, espionage, and world-altering secrets that connected the ends of the known Earth. For centuries, its true history has been hidden in plain sight, buried under the sand of time and the weight of our own comfortable stories. But today, we are pulling back the curtain. This is the ancient Silk Road as you have never, ever heard it described. These are 10 secrets that change everything. Let's start with the name itself, because it's the first and greatest deception. We call it the Silk Road, and that simple name paints a picture in our minds of a single well-trodden path. But that's secret number one. It was never one road. It was a vast, messy, unpredictable network of countless land and sea routes. A spider web of trails stretching from China through the brutal deserts of Central Asia, over the towering Pamir Mountains into Persia and to the Mediterranean. And the men who walked these paths wouldn't have understood the term Silk Road at all. That name was invented by a German historian in the 19th century, a romantic label stuck on a reality that was anything but romantic. And the silk, it was the glittering headline, the luxury good that captured the imagination. But it was far from the most important thing being traded. The real economy was built on things that sound downright boring. Bulk ceramics, metalware, glass, paper, and foodstuffs like walnuts and dates. But even that is missing the most profound point. The most valuable commodities on the Silk Road weren't physical goods you could weigh or count. They were intangibles, ideas, religions, technologies, and devastating diseases. This network didn't just move cargo, it moved cultures. It shifted the very tectonic plates of human civilization, and it all started with a piece of paper. Which brings us to our second secret. The single most revolutionary item traded wasn't silk. It was paper. The Chinese guarded the secret of papermaking like a state secret. For centuries, it was a technology more valuable than any military strategy. But on a road filled with spies, secrets are the most valuable currency of all. In the 8th century, the Abbasid Caliphate and the Tang dynasty clashed at the remote Battle of Talas. The Arab forces won, and among their prisoners were Chinese papermakers. These anonymous artisans were the real prize. They were brought to the Islamic world, and with them, the knowledge of how to create a paper. This technology spread to Baghdad and then into Europe. Now just pause and consider this one leak. Without paper, does the Islamic Golden Age happen? Without paper, does the European Renaissance ever begin? Do we get the sketches of Leonardo da Vinci or the printed words of Martin Luther? The entire course of Western thought was irrevocably shaped not by a king, but by a few captured artisans on the Silk Road. Their forced journey was the spark that lit the intellectual fire of the modern world. But if you think this was all happy accident, you are in for a shock. This brings us to our third secret. The Silk Road was founded on espionage. It was the world's first great intelligence network. The man we celebrate as its great pioneer, the Chinese explorer Zhang Xian, was not a merchant. He was a military spy. His mission was not to open trade, but to find and secure an alliance with a distant tribe to help China fight their enemy, the Xiongnu. Zhang Qian's journey was a nightmare. He was captured and held prisoner for 10 years. He eventually escaped, completed his mission, and began the long journey home, only to be captured again. When he finally returned to China over a decade after he left, he brought back a detailed intelligence dossier on the cultures, economies, and military strengths of every kingdom between China and Persia. His reports were the ultimate strategic playbook. The trade in silk that followed was a direct result of the intelligence he gathered. The Silk Road, in its infancy, was a covert military operation, and controlling this flow required masters of the game. This is our fourth secret. The true lords of the Silk Road were a people you have almost certainly never heard of. Forget the Chinese emperors. The real power players were the Sogdians. Hailing from what is now Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, they were not a massive empire, but a confederation of brilliant mercantile city-states. They were the logistical geniuses of the ancient world. They spoke a dozen languages, understood the customs of every culture from the Yellow River to the Euphrates, and established a network of trading colonies. They were the original globalists. If a Chinese merchant had silk to sell to a Persian, it was a Sogdian who negotiated the deal, provided the camels, and knew the safe routes. They were the glue that held the entire chaotic system together, yet their name has been largely erased from history. But for all its connections, the Silk Road had a horrifying underbelly. This is our fifth secret. This network was also one of the largest and most brutal slave trading enterprises the world had ever seen. While luxurious silks moved west towards Rome, a torrent of human misery flowed east. Slaves were the dark currency. People were captured from the steppes of Eurasia, from the Black Sea, from Africa, and from Central Asia. They were marched in chains across the deserts and mountains. Chinese historical records coldly describe markets offering of Turkish slaves or exotic devil slaves. The wealth and comfort of empires were built on a foundation of unimaginable human suffering. The movement of people had a consequence so catastrophic it would reshape the world. This is our sixth secret. The Silk Road became the vector for the deadliest pandemic in history, the Black Death. In the 14th century, the stability of the Mongol Empire made travel across Eurasia faster than ever. But that also meant disease could travel faster. The plague bacterium hitchhiked on fleas that lived on black rats in shipments of grain and cloth. But there's a darker twist. During the siege of the Genoese trading port of Kaffa in 1347, the Mongol army was ravaged by the plague. In a desperate act, they catapulted the corpses of their dead soldiers over the city walls. It was likely one of the first instances of biological warfare. The terror-stricken Italian merchants inside fled by ship, carrying the plague with them back to Europe. From there, it exploded, wiping out perhaps half of the entire continent's population. The interconnectedness that the Silk Road fostered came with an apocalyptic price. Yet, amidst the darkness, there are secrets of incredible wonder. This is our seventh secret. What if a lost legion of Roman soldiers ended up in China? It sounds like fantasy, but the legend is persistent. After the disastrous Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, thousands of Roman prisoners were taken east. Historians believe they were sent to guard the Parthian frontier, and then they vanished. Now, in a remote part of China's Gansu province, there is a small town called Liqian. For generations, some residents have had startlingly European features: green eyes, light hair. Local legend says they are the descendants of those lost Romans. While DNA evidence is inconclusive, the legend remains a powerful mystery. It's a ghost story from the Silk Road. This connectivity extended to faith. Our eighth secret challenges the religious map. Buddhism spread east from India, but it also traveled west. For a moment, there was a chance it could take root in the Mediterranean. A Buddhist community existed in Alexandria, Egypt. The philosophy attracted major thinkers. The great philosopher Plotinus tried to travel to India to learn from them. Some scholars argue Buddhist ideas influenced early Christian monastic traditions. The potential for fusion was there. But history took a different turn. The rise of Islam acted like a slamming door, severing this corridor. The Silk Road didn't just spread ideas, it also acted as a filter. Our ninth secret takes us to a part of the world often left out. A powerful Korean kingdom was a crucial hub. The Goguryeo kingdom ruled for centuries and was not an isolated backwater. It was a major power that maintained its own northern trade routes, dealing directly with the nomads of the steppe and with China. Goguryeo was a vital bridge. Korean artifacts have been found in Silk Road tombs. This secret rewrites the map. It forces us to see the Silk Road as a complex web where a kingdom forgotten by the West played a starring role in the East. Finally, we arrive at our 10th secret. For all the talk of emperors, the most enduring legacy was written by people whose names we will never know. The true heroes were the refugees. The Silk Road became a sanctuary for communities of faith facing extinction. The followers of Manichaeism were persecuted by both Rome and Persia. They faced annihilation, so they fled east, carrying their sacred texts. They found tolerance among the Uyghurs in Central Asia. The Silk Road, for all its dangers, provided a corridor of survival. It ensured that these ideas were not snuffed out. This was the ultimate function of the road. It was a safety net for human culture. So, the next time you hear Silk Road, forget the lone camel. Picture the Sogdian merchant negotiating in a dozen languages. See the Chinese spy memorizing an army's strength. See the terrified slaves marching into an unknown future. Hear the clang of a Roman sword in a Chinese town. This was the real Silk Road. It was not a road of silk, but a road of human ambition, terror, resilience, and wonder. Its secrets tell us the true story of how we became connected. A story far more incredible than any fiction.